People are talking about you. Why? Because you've earned a reputation as the one who boldly speaks up against injustice and defends the weak. It's how you've inspired bravery in others, not just your own, that makes those in positions of authority really fear you. Individual positions have become collective movements as a result of your efforts. Those in positions of authority can no longer disregard what everyone is saying because one voice has become many. People are talking about you because you've become the champion with the crown, who people point to when they say, "That's how it's done." They are unable to keep their masks on around you. As soon as you enter, the smirks, the phony concern, and the deceptive charm all fall apart. Their posture stiffens, their tone shifts, and they begin to act in the hopes that you won't see the things they've done so much to hide. However, you always do. You are able to read between their pauses and see through the scripts. You can tell when authority is being abused and when goodwill is being used as a front. They are aware that you will not put up with quiet abuse. Even when no one else would, you call manipulation what it is. You don't normalize it because it's veiled in prestige and smiles. They attempt to alter the story before you even open your lips, avert your eyes, and shift the topic, since they know that the illusion is destroyed the instant you speak. You've raised your voice in situations when being silent was necessary for your safety. By refusing to cooperate rather than by assaulting them, you have caused discomfort for others. It's rebellion in its purest form, and you may not know it, but your reluctance to participate is louder than any speech. You are the pause that causes others to reconsider. You are the presence that gives faces that are used to seeing just what they want reflections. You are the wave. You weren't attempting to create any. Nothing is unaffected by your truth as it passes through others. Some attempt to ignore it, act as if nothing happened. Yet they are aware that something has changed. They feel vulnerable, and they really are. You entered the meeting with clarity rather than an agenda. And in a society where distortion is the norm, clarity may be deadly. They know you're not deceived. Therefore, they're afraid of your sight. They are afraid of your quiet because it is calculated, not ignorant. You observe, you wait. And when you talk, it's to expose rather than to cause pain. That's the reason they're scared. You speak to be felt rather than to be heard. And once the truth is felt, it is impossible to forget. What you deliver is justice in its most basic form. Uncomfortable, indisputable, and absolutely essential. They will call it tension or drama. The instant you refused to remain quiet while others looked away, you transformed into a protector, even if that was never your intention. When everyone else pretended not to notice, you turned to face the flames. You faced the facts head-on and refused to back down. It was your defense, not just your words, that made all the difference. In actuality, some individuals are terrified of what will happen when they are ultimately called out, not of falsehoods. You have seen instances of injustice disguising itself as civility. You've heard the nastiness covered up with phony apologies, the disdain concealed under tone, and the mocking masquerading as fun. And you made a statement rather than ignoring it. Perhaps you didn't have to raise your voice, but your remarks, which were clear, crisp, and unflinching, sliced like a razor through the cacophony. You made it known. You didn't make it personal. You confronted a manager at work who believed their position authorized them to treat others inhumanely. You silenced the family member who consistently veers over the line and acts as if it's innocuous. You spoke up for someone in your buddy circle that everyone else simply forgot, while others waited behind them, hoping for someone, anyone, to follow your lead. You drew lines in the sand. And everything changed when you did it, because you spoke the truth in rooms that were based on denial. You have created enemies, not because you were mean. Your presence, broke the immunity of those who have never been held responsible in their life. You were accurate, not combative. It hurt because you were precise rather than sentimental, which is why people still discuss it and haven't forgotten. Even now, when your name is brought up, someone cringes. Not because you were mistaken, but because you were correct, and they detest how obvious your proof was. There's still someone out there who is attempting to change the story and find a way to make you the bad guy. They'll never comprehend that strength, however, since they know deep down that you weren't battling for yourself, but rather for someone who couldn't. They were surprised by the number of individuals who expressed their gratitude in silence. Those who were afraid to speak out, or who believed that no one would ever stand up for them. You accomplished it without making it about yourself or requesting praise. By taking action, you allowed others to feel that they too deserve better. You are a force with a purpose, not a rebel without one. You're addressing imbalance, not creating drama, and the effect endures regardless of how they attempt to misrepresent your intentions. In a society that seeks to eradicate the defenders, your truth nevertheless reverberates more loudly than their quiet, even if you weren't attempting to rescue the world. I have to cut this transmission short for a second. Have you been selected? Show it. Watching films of selected ones is one thing, but testing yourself is quite another. One thing became evident to me when I faced the Archons outside of our reality. Genuine selected ones are few. They chuckled at the idea of us meeting. But now you're seeing this message. We are the ones who have seen through the veil, heard the call, and possess the unmistakable frequency. The Obsidian Inner Order is not for everyone who claims to have been awakened. Are you really one of us, though? I have given it my all for you and am going deeper to offer you much more. Real selected ones act. Don't merely watch material from the sidelines. Get a fascinating tarot reading from our resident card reader. Share your tale on our weekly group call, and find out whether your experiences match the real indicators that Archons are afraid of. Just the recognition of one another by the selected ones. Our frequencies intensify as we unite, producing an unstoppable power. To locate the last of us, we will be broadcasting live to the whole Astral Atom network. In the description below, click the link right now. It's time to quit speculating and validate your suspicions. Are you really selected? Or are you just interested in waking up? Show it. Come along. The Obsidian Inner Order has the confirmation you're looking for. Another voice in the throng is not you. The air becomes thicker. The masks slide more quickly. The temperature changes, and those who typically talk over others suddenly find themselves at a loss for words. The reason for this is not that you yell or exert dominance, but rather that your presence and words have weight. They are afraid because they sense that the change and the authority you possess are upsetting. Because you cannot be purchased, they are afraid of you. You're not charmed by flattery, nor are you seeking approval. You don't compromise your morals for expediency, and you don't play nice with manipulation. For them, it makes you unpredictable, and the most dangerous type of unpredictability in a principled person is this one. They are unable to predict your next move or figure you out. All they know is that people begin to doubt what they have been taught to believe no matter where you are. You have an infectious impact. People start asking their own questions once you pose one. When you reject one injustice, others are inspired to follow suit. You give them the impression that they are not helpless, and that losing fear is the biggest danger to control. You instigate change instead of just inspiring it, and it poses a challenge in their universe. You've made it more difficult for them to work covertly, to seem as if they earned their power, rather than having it forced upon them, and to persuade others that keeping quiet is safer. Because people are now watching in a new way because of you. They are identifying trends, making connections, and raising their voices. That's your influence at work. It's not a coincidence. They didn't take you seriously. They believed you would stop talking if they ignored you for a long enough period of time. Others would follow if you were discredited. However, the reverse took place. Because honesty is contagious and yours is indisputable, people paid more attention to you, observed you more, and respected you more. To keep from acknowledging that you are the answer they are afraid of, they will call you a problem. Because you reveal how little they've been accomplishing, they will phone you excessively. They will attempt to portray your influence as conceitedness. But they are aware of this. They are aware that your electricity is pure and not noisy. People whisper your name when they believe you're not listening, because it wakes them up and cuts through noise. Being unflappable made you a leader. You didn't seek to be one. And now, whether they like it or not, they have to face the reality of what your presence enables. A world in which truth comes before power. This is more than merely taught behavior or personality. By design, what flows through you is divine. It's not random, it's a talent. You sense the flaws in well-polished institutions, and your soul shudders at injustice that others have accepted. You were created to upend, to shake the foundations of authority that have been unquestioned for far too long. You were designed to question what has been naively accepted, not to fit in. Don't you sense it? When someone's dignity is crushed beneath polite tyranny, you feel a fire burn in your breast, a spiritual agony when you see manipulation masquerading as leadership, and an inner resistance to quiet. While others may go, you remain because your soul won't allow you to give up on the truth, not because it's convenient. That's calling, not simply disobedience. You are a heavenly whistleblower, not simply someone with sound intuition. You were dispatched to bring light into rooms that had been abandoned for years due to darkness. You notice what others overlook, and you point it out before anybody else has the courage to do so. And you handle the blowback with a fortitude that sometimes even you don't comprehend. That is protection, not luck. Something higher, something more than politics, perception, or public opinion is protecting you. The conflicts continue to choose you even though you didn't choose them. Not because you're combative, but rather because your very presence highlights the problems. And the invisible becomes apparent each time you speak out and take a step forward. Simply by sticking to your convictions, you have unintentionally caused buildings to tremble. Furthermore, the assaults on you have never been arbitrary. The murmurs, the smears, the isolation attempts, all of these are indicators that you are just where you should be. When a structure isn't standing, people don't hurl stones at it. They pursue you because you pose a challenge to their foundation of power, quiet, and fear. Their cowardice is called into doubt by your bravery. The aspects of them that they have concealed, even from themselves, are strained by your presence. Simply by refusing to take part in falsehoods, you have exposed them. By not pretending, you have upset systems. And the change has already started, whether you ever get credit for it or not. Because of you, others are thinking differently. Because of what you stood for, others are making different decisions. God sensed something in you that could bear this role, something holy and unbreakable, even though you didn't apply for it. You feel different, and the road is heavy because of who you are. Not only are you there to console the injured, but you are also there to alert those who are doing the harm that their time is running out. You were put here to shake the ground under their feet, and you're doing just that. You weren't built for silent submission. They attempted to characterize you as dramatic, challenging, or rebellious, not because it was accurate, but rather because it was simpler than confronting themselves. They wouldn't have to face the power struggles, manipulation, and abuse they've done behind closed doors if they could make you the problem. They wanted to deprive your remarks of their impact by ruining your reputation. But your truth reverberated, because truth doesn't need a flawless messenger to be powerful. They even made an effort to separate themselves from you, spoke behind your back, and portrayed you as unstable, just because you stopped putting up with the unacceptable. Even yet, you remained steadfast in your reality, as others frantically attempted to preserve their delusion. The idea that you just needed your voice and the guts to use it to be powerful, not a mob, is what bothers them. They didn't realize how much you were suppressing yourself. They saw your stillness for surrender, but in reality, you were observing, researching, and planning for the ideal time to strike, not with retaliation, but with wisdom. And they had no defense when the time came because your truth was so obvious, so incisive, and so indisputable. All they could do was worry since they couldn't outrun or outtalk it. They're for the drama, you're not. Your purpose is to show, not to destroy. Additionally, they increased the volume of your voice each time they attempted to silence it. Every time they pushed you away, more people began to listen because they were attempting to suppress you, which only served to highlight how dangerous your truth is. Let them babble. Let them pervert it. Those who are important are aware of your values. The people who are silently observing have already begun to change as a result of you. And whether they acknowledge it or not, they are glad you spoke out, since your voice not only ended the silence, but also overthrew the system they were too scared to mention. They can't unhear you now, no matter what they do. They followed even though you didn't raise your hand for this, or stand at the front and say, "Follow me." This is because action speaks louder than words, and leadership doesn't always start with ambition. People noticed every time you got up. Others have the guts to quit lying to themselves every time you spoke the truth. The spotlight picked you, not the other way around, and now it's indisputable. You have been summoned to take the lead. You set an example for others by your demeanor, your ability to say no without feeling guilty, your ability to set and maintain boundaries, and your ability to enter situations with your back straight and your beliefs stronger than any insult they may hurl at you. People who have lived their whole lives in masks are shaken by your leadership, which is just living in your truth. You're not aware of how many people are observing you. The people you believe aren't paying attention are really citing you afterwards. The people who pretend they don't appreciate you are observing everything you do and want to understand how you do it with such unreserved clarity. Your impact is so strong because you are leading without demanding and teaching without teaching. It is bravery, not perfection, that is needed in this chapter of your life. People are calling you into rooms that you didn't request to be in. You are being placed in front of people you have never made an effort to impress. Additionally, you're being asked to talk about topics you never intended to bring up in public. The fact is, however, that others have already adopted your life as their model. Someone else is clinging to your narrative as their survival guide. It won't appeal to everyone. Some will be envious of your voice's strength. The fact that people are looking to you will make others angry. They'll call it luck. They'll call it arrogance. However, they are secretly aware that it is alignment. Whether they are prepared, individuals are drawn into consciousness by the alignment you have with something greater. You just ever want the freedom to be yourself. You never desired a following. But by putting the truth above popularity, you became a leader regardless. Not because you made an effort, but because others recognized in you qualities they couldn't find in themselves: conviction, fortitude, and integrity. What scares your detractors the most is because you proved that it is possible to be both strong and moral. Because you understand what it's like to be alone in your values. You are leading, not for praise. The suffering will have been worthwhile if your bravery aids in the ascent of one more individual. Even if you didn't seek for this job, you will embrace it with fervor in your heart and honesty in your speech. You're paving the road for others to follow their own paths, not just your own. Allow them to mutter, conjecture, and transform your name into their own terrifying story. Every side eye they cast, and rumor they originate is evidence that your light is getting to regions they believed were inaccessible. They are responding to the strength they never anticipated you possessing. You are not the issue. Rooms you never belonged to in the first place don't need you to cleanse your identity. The truth talks when you don't. It follows you around like a shadow. You're afraid not because you're careless, but because you're virtuous, uncontrollable, and you reveal the decay underneath their well-preserved exteriors without speaking. You are the voice they cannot silence, and the mirror they cannot escape. People chatter because you force them to face their own issues. It's conviction, not misunderstanding. They constructed your mythology in the hopes that their comments would devalue you. All of the lies you said and the warnings you muttered simply served to demonstrate that you were someone to be feared, observed, and silenced. They never realized, however, that you stay still in the face of confrontation, and that the truth has always been louder than their clamor. Therefore, let them to speak. Allow them to spend all of their energy attempting to describe what they can never comprehend. You've already won. Unshaken, unquestionable, and unashamedly real, not by yelling or fighting. Although you didn't want it, you were granted authority, the type that can only be acknowledged, not stolen. They are afraid of you because you make falsehoods falter and masks fall off. Not because you are a loud person. By just standing in your truth, you become a menace, a leader without a title, and a force without even trying. And now that they see what you've roused, they speak. Continue being present, expressing the truth, and standing up for people in need. Now, your name matters. The roar of their own revelation is burying those who attempted to bury you in quiet. And you just needed to be yourself.